Hello everybody and welcome to FinTech Futures Sibos video interview series. My name is Tyler Pate. I'm a reporter at FinTech Futures, and today I'm very happy to be joined by James Fraser, the Global Head of Trade at JP Morgan. James, how are you?
I'm very well, Tyler. Great to be here.
Thank you for joining us today. And you're looking forward to Sibos this year?
Very much so.
Oh yes, highlight of my calendar too.
Yes, every year.
Oh yes. So you are going as Global Head of Trade at JP Morgan, a position you took up in 2022.
That's right. 3
years in the role now.
Yeah.
What have been your key priorities for trade finance in those years?
I think, at JP Morgan we have within the payments organization a key theme around investment, and I think that's been true for trading working capital the last 3 years. We've been continuing to invest to build out our product capabilities and expand our overall product set. We've continued to invest in our people. We come from a base of very strong kind of client service organization and culture. What we've really tried to focus on is building out the client coverage team in order to ensure that we're also providing sort of best-in-class advisory services to our clients. I think one of our strengths is really identifying specific problem statements, coming up with tailored solutions to meet our clients' needs. And then the continued focus on investment in partnerships, and that will obviously include fintechs, where we've looked to sort of expand our product delivery and how we deliver our products to our clients. So I think of a partnership like Talia, where we've kind of jointly gone to market around supply chain finance and DD, driving better UI UX for our customers, both the buyers and the suppliers. We've also looked at expanding our kind of overall product capabilities through partnerships with the likes of Wayflyer and Slope. We're actually expanding the universe of who we can finance and kind of meet the increasing working capital demands that we're seeing across the supplier base of our customers.
Thank you for that, James. Yes, it sounds like you've definitely got the whole process covered sort of end to end in terms of the client journey. We will be going on and discussing some of those partnerships in due course and the course for open collaboration. But in terms of Sibos this year, which is sort of about bringing all of these people together in one space, the theme this year, of course, is the next frontiers in global finance. Yeah. What do you think these next frontiers will bring to trade finance?
It's hard not to have a discussion, in terms of outlook without folding in tariffs and kind of the increasing fragmentation that we're seeing in trade. And so I think that will be clearly a focus of discussion in Sibos. I think we're seeing really kind of an acceleration of a trend that's been in place for 10 years. So I think there's a lot for the industry, both corporate clients, banks, fintechs, to collectively discuss and collaborate around how do we, as a group, meet the changing demands, and how does the industry respond to those changing trade corridors in particular. And then I think obviously another key theme, which is related, will be around kind of the use of AI and agentic AI in modernizing kind of the trade finance experience. I think we've seen certainly within JP Morgan, but obviously across the industry, a historic focus on trade digitization, and I think there's an element with the use of AI to really particularly in the trade services space, drive increased efficiency within operations. I think there's opportunities within agentic AI to actually solve certain sequencing and how trade transactions get processed, which I think will ultimately reduce errors, operational risk, ideally fraud down the road, and make the system a little bit more efficient. And that will also expand to how the industry can collectively look to expand lending capacity. So I mentioned some of the fintechs that we've worked with the last couple of years, and I think we really see an exciting opportunity to kind of bridge beyond the traditional banking universe and that banking credit capacity to deliver and meet those sort of working capital demands across small and medium enterprises. So I think a lot to be excited about.
You're really like driving down on like lots of really important topics in this space at the moment. I mean, agentic AI, one is a massive force in fintech at the moment, and it's actually a focus of my latest feature in the Banking Tech magazine, which will be at Sibos this year, so catch that if you can. And also, of course, working capital for SMEs is hugely important, especially in this current climate. It's important to make sure that that access is there for that sector. Just sort of going back then to your earlier point about this sort of like open collaboration between fintechs, leading banks like JP Morgan, and then like the wider corporate player space. How do you think that sort of open collaboration is going to drive that change, that next frontier? And more importantly, I mean, you just sort of outlined a little bit of it there, but which technologies are leading that change?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's sort of a symbiotic relationship across corporates, banks, and fintechs, right? And they're all kind of, I think clearly corporates are driving some of the demand. They're the actual ultimate users, so they have to have key inputs. We always need, kind of their feedback around what are their needs, what are their problem statements, particularly when it comes to, certain operational challenges which technology can help solve. And then clearly, fintechs are, lean, mean, they're delivering kind of the cutting edge technology, generally sort of best in class engineering. So we think about UI, UX, speed of delivery. There's obviously a key role to play. I think banks, on the other hand, will also continue to invest in their technology. Will be critical, but there's clearly an opportunity to partner with certain fintechs to kind of round out the entire ecosystem. And you think about banks, you think about trust, safety, stability, resiliency. Obviously, there's a regulatory angle as well. So you need the banks to be there and kind of part of the overall solution. And I think obviously JP Morgan, that's where we're looking at whether it's investing in our own products, our own tech capabilities, and partnering. We're trying to figure out where that demand is and then how we can collectively step up, bring our corporate clients together and those fintech partnerships to deliver solutions. And I think there are a lot of exciting developments there, but ultimately to achieve scale, you need kind of collective participation.
And you've painted a picture of JP Morgan ultimately being a very outward-looking bank and looking around itself for the next best capabilities. It's really, really reassuring to see. Speaking of panels, you yourself are going to be talking on a panel. I'm just going to check my notes. The Developing Resilient Supply Chains in a Fragmented World panel. Can you give us a little bit of a sneak peek of what that conversation will address? I
mean, I think I don't want to give too much of a preview because I think there'll be a lot of exciting topics that we'll cover in person. However, again, clearly you have a lot of increased fragmentation dating back to sort of Trump 1 and kind of the polarization of certain, from a geopolitical perspective is driving, sort of a change in trade corridors. And at the same time, we've had stress events, and that can be, COVID and related lockdowns. It can be, kind of response to the most recent escalations around tariffs and potential disruption to trade, which really keeps corporates very much on their toes, and particularly on the procurement side. And so, the challenges are increasing, and when you also think through sort of the capital investment cycle, that's also changing. And so the needs and what is being procured and the amounts and the amount that needs to be financed, that's not a static component. And then these changing corridors, obviously, that's a longer term trend. So I think we'll look for the panel to really bring out some of these key themes and what are we actually seeing, and then that will presumably dovetail into, well, what are we doing about it, right? And what are the specific solutions and areas of focus, kind of particularly across the banks. And there, I think, again, there'll be a very consistent theme around AI and data and use of data. So you had mentioned earlier the demand for working capital across SMEs, that needs a tech solution, whether that's underwriting, KYC, onboarding, leveraging kind of the data sets that we all have around payment history to then create that that capital to invest in through the supply chain. I think that's a really interesting angle, which I'm sure we'll hear quite a bit about.
Sounds like it's going to be a very, very exciting conversation.
I hope so.
Yes, well, best of luck on the Monday.
Thank you.
There will be daily coverage of Sibos this year over on FinTech Futures, so be sure to keep a lookout for that. I'm sure we'll have this panel well covered in our articles. So yes, very, very exciting. Well, JP Morgan, it's going to be really, really exciting to have you at Sibos this year. Can you give us a little bit of an overview of maybe what developments you're going to be bringing to the conference this year?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you look at kind of the breadth of what we provide, we're really sort of end-to-end across payments, and that's been a historic theme. That will be a theme again this year, and while I think we'll need folks to come by the booth, which I'm guessing won't be too hard to find, to really kind of hear product by product what are the latest updates and developments. So I won't preview too much of that, but we'll have very strong senior representation across each of our sort of treasury services products, our trade finance product, of course, as well as Connexus. And so there's always exciting developments there, which I'm sure we'll be able to talk about. So very, very excited for what we're going to bring to bear, but you got to come by and see it.
Beautiful. Well, yes, if you are at Sibos and you're watching this, please do go to the JP Morgan booth, and I'm sure James would be more than happy to connect and run through the full scope of their product suite. Well, James, I'd love to stay and speak with you all day, but I realize we're running out of time. So thank you very much for joining me today, and best of luck at Sibos.
Thank you.
And thank you to everybody who's joined us online for this wonderful interview with James Fraser from JP Morgan. If you would like to see some of the other videos in this series, please do head over to our Sibos Content Hub, where you'll find out everything you need to know, including our daily coverage. But until then, I'll see you soon. Thank you.